Welcome to the Impossible Talk podcast. Our first podcast is on motherhood. So tell me a bit about yourself, Olivia. Let's get straight in.
I'm Olivia, I'm 34, and I've got a 1-year-old, 13-month-year-old girl.
My name's Shannon. I became a mother when I was 21.
Yeah.
I believe it's 21. I'm not 100% sure. He was
Still got baby brains.
I'm 25 now, so he's 3. And I don't know about all those months, but he's 3.
My name's Key, and I've got a 13-year-old. So how have you guys found parenting? What was like the challenging aspect of parenting that you guys have found with motherhood especially?
Definitely doing it alone.
Yeah, being a single parent is, it's presented more challenges than I thought about before I went on this endeavour. So, like financially, in terms of relationships, stress, my own mental health, every sort of aspect of my life has changed, to be honest.
Yeah. What about you, Shannon?
I think the main thing about parenthood, whether you're alone or with someone, it's time consuming constantly. Everything is not just yourself anymore. It's about, and everyone always says, oh, when you have a child, it's never just you, but you don't realise how in depth it is to. You're not actually your own person anymore. You have to do something completely different to somebody else.
Yeah. I think for me, like, as my son's got older, I've then started to notice how much of my energy has gone into motherhood. Because when they're young, you kind of just get on with it, don't you? You've got, like, nappies to change, school runs, feeding times, etc. So you don't really, until it starts to slow down, you're like, actually, what time have I really put into myself?
Yeah.
And then that's probably when it relates to mental health that you touched upon, Olivia.
Mental health, I think, is a big thing.
Yeah, definitely. We don't really take enough time, like, to look after ourselves when we become mums, I don't think. And, like, the mental health provisions for women that have had babies, although there is some, it's not great at the moment. Like, there's a big disparity between, like, the mental health care for men and women, as in, and physical health care for men and women.
So in regards to, like, your day-to-day, how does that look, like, being a mum?
Every day, I think, is different. It's the same, but different. Like, you're in a routine, but it can easily change. But you can do the same thing. Something's going to go completely different.
Yeah.
My day-to-day is wake up, be a mother, go to work, come home, be a mother all over again. And then it's just the same over and over. And I think that's another thing, is the same cycle every single day. It just gets to you.
Yeah, it can take a toll, isn't it? Yeah. What about you, Olivia?
The same, like, the monotony of, like, just doing the same routine every day is pretty boring. And you can mix it up a bit, however you want to, but it's pretty much going to be the same routine. And especially if you're a single parent, like, in the evening you are usually alone. So when other people have got, like, that extra person to comfort you and, like, talk through the day, you don't have that. You're just kind of thinking about what's gone on, or maybe you just completely zone out. Like, sometimes I just completely zone out.
Yeah,
and, like,
you kind of become quite robotic, don't you, to your day-to-day life. So
well, I wasn't always alone throughout my parenthood, but I think even when I wasn't alone, I was alone.
Yeah.
I think even when you're with someone in a relationship and you're a mother, they may be the father or the mother to whatever it is. You always feel like they can't do what you can do, and it's not correct and it's not right, or so you're just alone.
I think that's a good, like, touch-up point as well, because I always find it through children's eyes as well, they kind of deem the fathers to be more, like, fun. And they're kind of playing more the fun role. And then the mothers are then having to deal with, like, the more responsibility side of things, where it's feeding time, keeping the routine in the house, cleaning their rooms, etc. So, yeah, there is kind of that kind of imbalance, isn't it? at home.
Yeah. But even when fathers are there, they're really there.
Yeah, it definitely depends on like what sort of relationship you have already with like the other parent. Because if it's not strong and stable and they're not investing as much of themselves, then it is pretty much just you doing all the work.
I've always grown up in a household where my mother and father weren't together, so I never bashed anyone for being a single parent. I knew I grew up and did not want to have a child. I never actually wanted children, but if I ever did have them, I never wanted to be a single mother. I don't put down like being single mothers, obviously I am one now, but it's just always in your head. People always live off, I want to be that two-parent household and raise a child with a mother and father.
Yeah. I think in the UK, 5% of couples tend to break up after their children gets to about 6 months old. So, which is quite a high number, 5% really, isn't it? So, yeah.
It's because parenting is a lot of stress. It can take a lot of, like, a toll on a relationship. My child's father has kids before we had our own. And he used to always say about the other mother, his other child's parent, how she lives a good life because she gets a lot of help. And I said, well, parenting doesn't put your life on hold. It doesn't stop you from doing it. And I'm incredibly wrong about that. It doesn't stop your life, but your life definitely goes on hold for a long time.
Yeah. How have you guys found your friendship circle once you become a parent? Because I know that for me, I kind of felt like this pressure. I don't know whether it came from society or just myself, but I kind of felt like I was struggling at a certain stage of being friends with people who didn't have children. I stopped kind of relating to them. My time became less available. And, you know, it just made it quite hard for me to socialise. Then my social circle kind of died down a little bit, and I tend to warm to other parents who had similar age children as me, so that I could try and fit in my social time.
Honestly, it all depends on your friends with who you come into the pregnancy with. I had a good friendship group throughout my whole pregnancy. They were good friends. If we don't talk as much now, I don't think it has anything to do with having a child. I think it's we're growing up, we're drifting apart. There is a lot of people that had friends and it was all based on alcohol and social life and outings. So when you have a child, they're like, well, if you can't come, and then it starts drifting apart. But I think with me, it's just because that we've all got older. Our life revolves around bills, let alone parents. But a lot of the time as well, there is a lot of things that my life has definitely changed. Like, I was quite a social person before I had a child. I was drinking a lot, to be honest. And that's one thing I'm grateful for. I grew up a lot quicker than what I needed to because I had a child. And I'm grateful that I don't go out and drink all the time. But I think I'd have a lot more of a social life if I didn't have a child around me, because everything has to work on a schedule. You have to get the childcare, you have to have timing and plans. It has to be planned. You can't be spontaneous.
That's very true.
When you have friends, some things are just random. With a child, it's like, I'll let you know in 4 months if I can come.
And even up until that day you're supposed to go out, something can happen. Your child will get ill, so you no longer can go out.
I just had this conversation with my manager at work. They want to give me more work, and I say, well, it's hard enough to have a child and work, let alone being a single mum and working. And if you call in sick, it's, well, why are you sick? Well, it's not me, it's my son. Or
also, it can affect your benefits as well, so you need to make sure you're not earning too much over the threshold.
I think everything, just with a child, just affects everything.
I think with the cost of living as well, like, we don't, as single parents, single mothers, we do have to just be out to work in. Whether it's part-time or full-time, so we don't necessarily have that choice anymore. What about you, Olivia? How have your friendship circle been?
I think it's slightly different because I've had a child when I'm older, so a lot of my friends have already got kids, but they're like about 5 or 6 years old. So yeah, I mean, still the same things have come up, like it's been lonely and you still need a good support system around you, but at the same time having those friends there that have already got children, that's like a massive help. So yeah, it's slightly different.
Do you get other people's opinions on how you should parent? Because
I only have one actual friend with a child. Our parenting is completely different.
Yeah.
But our kids are quite similar.
Yeah.
I think it's good to have friends with kids, but also without. I don't know. I like kids. I absolutely hate kids. When people are like, oh, you should go to a mummy group or you should bond because you're a child. I don't want to come anywhere near your kids, okay? I just about want to sit with mine.
Yeah, like my one is about 10 kids alone, so I'm good.
I always did like kids. And then when you have your own, people say, oh, you must have so much patience. No, I had way more before I had a child.
Yeah.
But I think it's also spending every single second of your day with someone, in and out, all day, every day.
Yeah.
It tests you. Even at work, I hate going to work, but I love going to work because I'm getting a break.
It's that escape for you as well. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, definitely. I was just thinking about having a break.
I think there's a lot of pros and a lot of cons for parents.
Yeah.
Like, if people ask, there's a lot of banter between it. Like but the reality of it is hard. I think whether you're single or with somebody, you're always going to feel alone, even when you're not alone, and it will take a toll on your life or your relationship.
Well, there's no manual, is there, like when you have children, and I think it is also...
Everyone's different as well.
Yeah, and the child is different. So I think sometimes as your child gets older, they develop their own personality, so you do have to kind of work around them and their personality and characteristics as well. But so what would you say the pros of being a mum?
Someone to come home to.
Yeah, like they're literally like the love of your life.
That little devil will terrorise you during the day. At night time, everything is forgotten.
Yeah, you know that you're their whole world.
Yeah. Someone will love you. Conditionally.
You can't really put a price on that, to be honest. Like all of the rest of the sort of cons of being a parent is worth it.
Yeah, especially when your child is having a good day, you kind of want to hold on to that more as well, don't you? Because they're in a good vibe and you're like, yes, like this is a bit of a break for me, or you get to do more stuff with them that are quite enjoyable as well.
You do need to be realistic about being a parent as well. Like, although there are all the cons of like having someone there for you unconditionally, like you really need to think about it, like financially, like are you in a good place with your relationships? Is your mental health in check? Because it's going to disrupt all of that and more when you give birth to your own little human.
I think when people say, I'm going to have a child at this age because I feel like I'm ready, I don't think anyone's ever ready.
No.
Even just before the child has come, pregnancy can take a toll on you, labour can take a toll on you. Before a child has come, you can see all the obstacles in front of you, and they're all like tests. But nothing will determine how you will turn out as a parent. I mean, I always thought I'd be a lot better than what I am.
Yeah.
When you're in the role, you're like, day by day, I'm taking it. And
from 2016 to 2018, there had been 34 of 100,000 women who died, black women who died from labour, 15 Asian women and 5 Caucasian women. So, you know, pregnancy and labour alone is just, it's quite terrifying. It's really frightening. For me, I didn't have much support around me other than people that were my age at the time, and I was 19 when I was pregnant, and there was nothing that could have really prepared me for childbirth. I genuinely thought that I was, constipated at home. And when I got there, things just moved so quickly. And before I knew it, I had a child. And it just went, bam, bam, bam. And then once I got home, I didn't really have much adult guidance. So I was very taking it step by step. I really depended on the hospital staff to really guide me through bathing, sleeping, etc., feeding. And my son was just very easy. He was just a very easy child. The only issue that I found quite difficult is the sleepless nights, because I had to consistently feed him every other hour. And when he got to about 6 months, I had never even heard him cry. And he just woke up one day crying, and I didn't know what to do, so I called the ambulance. My child's crying. I don't know what to do. I mean, 6 months is a long time with your child. So I was none the wiser. And usually when he cries, it was just honestly like a 60-second whinge. But he just woke up and he was just screaming his head off, and I just didn't know what to do. And when they came, of course, by the time they came, he had stopped crying. So I just looked like a mad woman in the middle of the night, just attention seeking. But, you know, it was all those things kind of was a really big... eventually, I think it took a toll on my mental health, because I just didn't feel like, am I equipped? I had a lot of self-doubts.
I think no matter if they're 6 months, 16 months or 16 years, you're always going to question if they're okay.
Yeah.
Mine's 3 now, and if something is wrong and I don't understand, I mean, he can speak verbally now, but it's... I don't know to an extent, like, what's actually okay. Like, he got a rash, I took him straight to the doctor. They say, even, I think we feel like we're doubting ourselves because of our age or as our first child, but a lot of people who are in that profession have experienced it for less than what we are going to the doctors for.
Yeah, it's true. Very true. I mean, as a parent, you just kind of sign up to worrying forever. I mean, even if they're our age, we're going to worry regardless. Like, that is just something that you just sign up to.
I don't think even when they move out, you stop worrying.
No.
Especially when they're boys.
Yeah, I reckon I'd still worry about my son if he's a big grown 45-year-old man. You know, definitely. It would just be different worries. But
I don't think it's like a job role that you can ever like leave. Like,
no,
that's literally what it is. It's a full-time job.
Yeah,
you just don't get paid for it.
That you can't hand in your notice. No 1 month notice. In regards to mental health, how can you speak a bit more on that? On how did it really start for you? When did you start to realise that being a single parent or just being a mum could take a toll, or is taking a toll on your mental health?
I would say probably from the get-go, like, as a result of that and previous, I've got PTSD. So I was under the perinatal mental health team whilst I was pregnant with my daughter. And I would say, although they were good, they couldn't offer sort of long-term ongoing support, which is pretty much across the board with like all NHS like psychological services. You sort of get a 12-week course at most, and then that's it. They just throw you out there. So I found it quite difficult, but I don't know, it sort of gets better as she communicates more, I found, because she's only 1 at the moment, but I can imagine there'll be times when she's going to be throwing tantrums in the very near future where it's going to really start affecting me. But I think as long as you've got like friends and family supporting you, like, that's the most important thing.
What was it that you had help for? Like, what part of you made you go get help?
What part of it? I think it was just to worry about how my hormones would be reacting to the sort of pre-existing condition that I already had, and my moods kept like dipping really low, and I just thought, no, I really need to speak to somebody now. Like,
so did you have mental health before your pregnancy, during or after?
Like before.
Okay. And it seemed to have got worse.
It got worse, and then after I gave birth, the doctors sort of thought that I had postnatal depression, but it's got very similar symptoms to PTSD, so they weren't sure, but I'm feeling a lot better now.
Oh, good. That's good. It doesn't always last forever, does it? And I think when you do seek help, which is such an important thing to do, that you can really kind of get to the other side of it.
Definitely. Like, I don't think it should like deter anyone from having children, like having poor mental health or having like traumatic experiences in their lives, but you should really take it on board that you need to go and get some help and get that sorted out before you sort of start.
Before the bottle gets bigger and bigger. I think for me, how I probably noticed it was I started to get to a stage where I was looking for a lot of validation from others on like decisions that I needed to make with my son. And I guess that was more coming from the pressure of being a single parent, and just the big responsibility of being a mum. And then gradually I started building anxiety. And I just went through a really long period of where I was just really ignoring the anxiety. I didn't even understand anxiety at the time at all. I was in my early 20s and I just thought, you know, it's fine. Like, I didn't speak about it to anyone. So to me at that stage, it was like, oh, something's wrong, but maybe something's not wrong. And, you know, when I did hear people talking about anxiety, you know, people dropped a lot of jokes around anxiety. So I thought, oh, it's not really a big thing. But then the longer I left it, the more it started kind of really wearing me down. And then I started experiencing low moods. And then I was kind of like, actually, I need to go and seek medical help. So I done counselling, which was so useful because I then kind of was able to break through that by just like really breaking things down in small sections with my counsellor and be like, actually, this aspect I'm finding it really overwhelming. And then we would work on that for a period of time. So I feel a lot better now, but I think because my son's got older as well, that has kind of helped.
In the like in denial stage.
Yeah.
I always had a really strong, stable mind before having a child.
Mm-hmm.
No one could tell me anything or show me something that I don't agree with. I was always the type of person that I can do this alone and I will do it alone because I'm fine. Mm-hmm. And then I think towards the end of my pregnancy, my relationship began to have its own problems. And that affected my connection as being a mother throughout my pregnancy. As soon as my son was born, you know when people give birth and they're like, they have that instant overflowing love feeling and it's connection and they just want, I didn't get that at all. I didn't even want to. I didn't even want to hold my son, and it wasn't. People say, "Oh, that's not right," or whatever. I was tired. I was exhausted. I mean, I've witnessed some people and heard their stories go through labour for 24 hours, 40. Mine was several hours, but it was very, very tiring. Yeah. And there's a lot because I was quite young. I mean, there's people younger out there that have had children, but it's my body. You may have medically been trained in that, but it's my body. I know what's happening with mine. And I got ignored quite often through that, to the point where...
Not once did I think to put my phone on silent.
Let's hope it's the sun.
It is literally him.
And that's parenting for me.
Literally, yeah. I told him as well, I'm going to go and do the podcast, and then he's like literally ringing me down.
I just wanted to go to sleep. And I knew from there, I'm not getting any sleep.
Yeah.
But he actually...
Smart move.
Yeah.
I didn't even hold him. I was the third person to hold him.
Yeah.
My sister held him, then my other sister held him. Maybe even a doctor held him before I did that.
But there is a lot of pressure, though, on new mums, isn't it? Of, or just, you know, second child, any child. Of, I think it's... having that instant connection, and that's not, but I've also known, because I think childbirth is quite traumatic, so you kind of just need time to process, and like you said, you know your own mind, you know your own body, and you know how you react to certain things. I mean, for me, I struggle with change, so I have to have my kind of cooling off period for me to get my head around that change, and then I'll be okay. But if I don't have that, and then I get overwhelmed by other people and their perspective on things, I kind of then go into a completely unnatural path of processing it.
I think it was just... There was no love in my relationship towards the end of my pregnancy. So then I developed no connection with his dad. It ended up, why are we having a child? And it came round and round and round, like, should we even have a child? And it kind of got to the point where it's too late now to not have this person come into our life. And I think I felt stuck. And then it was, oh, I'm trapped. And that played a big role in my head. I'm constantly fighting with myself that I shouldn't have had a child because we're doing it for all the wrong reasons. Just because it's happened, it's happened. And that's the important thing about the UK is we do have the choice. It's probably going to be a very touchy subject. Abortions. And people think that you should only get them done when there's situations that you were not in control of. But also, I laid down over my legs and got pregnant, but I also didn't expect my experience to be how it was. And I wouldn't, be lying if I said I wouldn't change anything now. Because I love my son, but I definitely would pause.
Recalculate it,
If I could see my life now, I would go back, not have him, and wait. I mean, he probably won't be the same person that he is now, but he's still I'll still be a mother. I don't know how to explain.
But I think there's a lot of women out there that when they've realised actually I might not be ready or my circumstances have changed, there's options that they've used as adoption, one of their family members raising their child, and there's no right or wrong really, because it's all about what that child needs. And if you can identify it in yourself that actually I really can't provide what my child needs, then I really respect for any parent have to make that choice, because it's so difficult. I mean, I literally had attachment issues with my son, so the moment he went to visit his family, other family members, I would literally be like, oh my gosh, I'm not used to this, I need him back. And I'd literally have sleepless nights because I wasn't used to him going over to stay for a sleepover. But because for me, again, like Olivia, where I had quite adverse childhood experiences, by the time I gave birth, I just was very glued to my son. And that alone kind of became a problem.
I think mine was, I didn't feel the attachment to him, but I knew that this was what I'm supposed to do. So I'm going to be his mother. Yeah. And maybe the connection will grow. Like when you meet a partner, you don't instantly love that person. You eventually grow to love them. I thought that's what it was. But to me, it was wrong, because people are meant to love their child as soon as they meet them. I didn't have that. Even during my pregnancy, it wasn't, talking to the bump, rubbing the bump. I didn't have any of that. And maybe I didn't have the natural mum instincts, but
I think each woman is different, and, I think it's, if you don't have that connection straight away, then that's normal, and we need to normalise that as much as possible. But I think if it goes on for a period of time, then that's kind of probably the right place to ask for support, because it's gone on for so long.
How long is too long?
I guess until you start to really feel doubtful that there might not be a solution to this,
I think when it's time to ask.
Yeah, I don't think there's a time limit on anything.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem with society. They put everything has to have an estimate on. There has to be a start, finish, no middle line.
Yeah.
Even in terms of how long it takes to be dilated to how long it takes to go in bed. There certainly should be a time limit.
My waters broke, and I went to the hospital 40 minutes later, and they were like, oh, you're 8 centimetres, you're not ready to push it.
Yeah.
They left the room. I was like, well, I need a poop. My sister was like, no, you don't need to make those noises. You're fine. She was like, I'm going to go get the nurse. She goes, why are you doing that? I said, well, either I need to really, really poop, or I'm going to push. They constantly told me, you don't. We just checked you 2 minutes ago. Checked me again, and his head's already coming. Just because of this is what they're used to.
Yeah.
Or the time, even to the part where I had to get stitched. I'm not sure the medical words for any of this.
I think it's just stitched. Yeah.
I think they do a certain stitch. Like a V maybe, or I don't know.
It wasn't very nice, whatever it was.
No. To the point where the anaesthetic didn't work for me. I could feel them stitching me up, and they're saying, no, it's impossible. Well, it's not.
Yeah.
Because I'm very uncomfortable. Or I couldn't, you meant to lay on your back, and I couldn't do that. and his heart rate was dropping and mine was dropping, and it was like, if you don't do this now, we're going to have to go get somebody else.
Yeah.
Pressuring me to give birth, knowing my body could not handle, and he physically could not fit, like, to pass through me.
Even for me, there was like quite a lot of mistakes made through my labour. And I didn't have an adult present. I had someone, my friend at the time, who was my age.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, it was really through her guidance that she was able to kind of stop some of the mistakes from happening. But, yeah, I do feel it for women who don't have that adult guidance or that person who's given birth before.
Yeah.
Because then you've got that kind of experience of maybe just noticing what's normal and what's not normal that's happening in the room.
It's also really important to have who makes you comfortable. Like, a lot of the stereotypes is it has to be the dad to be the birthing partner. I was messaging him throughout the whole labour. When he's ready, come. As soon as I was ready to push, I didn't want him there. I felt comfortable with my two sisters by my side.
Yeah.
They're both parents, and he is as well, was at the time. I just felt like, what's he going to do for me?
Yeah.
He's not going to offer the emotional support. He's not going to be able to tell me what to do. He's going to be clueless. Like, yeah, go on, get him out.
Yeah.
But I had two supportive. I think just everything in life has, people say that there's a manual because there's how things should be done and shouldn't be done. I don't think it's like that at all.
Yeah, it's very outdated, isn't it?
Yeah. It's true.
I look back and think, oh, I feel bad for his dad didn't get to see him come into this world. But at the same time, it's about me, what made me comfortable, not his feelings on something he's missed out on that he's had two before.
Yeah.
Though, like the black women thing, I don't know if I walked into the room and they could tell I'm someone of race, of colour. But I think it was more of the age. My stitches now aren't correct. I look there and nothing looks the same. They were meant to dissolve. They fell out.
Yeah.
There's talking about to everyone about my disbobulated vagina.
No.
But
I think it's important for women to know that because, you know, I think the moment I got pregnant, not many people talked to me about the labour aspect of it. It was just like, oh, you're going to have a baby. Oh, my gosh, like, what gender are you going to have your baby? Like, what gender are you carrying, etc. And you kind of just, everyone kind of focus on that positive.
No one says that in the in parts, like mucus. Why was my vagina having snot out of it?
I didn't even know about the placenta.
Yeah.
So when they were like, after my son was born, and they said, oh, you know, you need to push out the placenta now. I was like, what is that? Like,
really?
Yeah, I was like, well, what is that? You know, I was 19. I was literally, it was the first time I had got pregnant, so I had no idea.
That must have been terrifying.
I didn't look up, I didn't read about it because I was really frightened of kind of like how, I was still trying to figure it out, like how does a baby actually come out of your vagina? Like, how does your vagina expand? And
the expanding, even though now, still baffles my head though.
So I just kind of never thought to. It was just a lot of fear of, like, I knew it was going to be painful, but then I thought if I do research into how painful it was going to be, then I'm just going to stress myself. And you know, when you're pregnant, you kind of have to really monitor your stress levels. So
that's another thing though, pain relief. If you take pain relief, you're a failure. You, as a mother, it's natural. You should be able to handle the pain. Yeah, fuck you right.
I wanted pain relief right at the last moment, and it was too late then.
I think it's the pressure though.
Give me the drugs, please.
So many people say like, oh, I've done it naturally, I can handle it, and it makes people refuse to take it even physically, like they cannot handle the pain
because they have to live up to that.
They've been drilled into their head that if you do this, you shouldn't.
Everyone's bodies are different. We all handle pain differently. You shouldn't be ashamed to ask for pain relief or help if you need it.
I mean, I was 8 centimetres dilated by the time I got to the hospital, and I literally was like, just give me anything. And the only one that they could give me was gas and air. And I sucked on that so hard. After I gave birth, my hand was literally stuck like this. My arm was just like this for about a good hour.
I don't like gas and air at all. I did try it, and it just made me really sick and like I puked on that. So
it makes you quite drowsy, doesn't it? Yeah.
I don't like it. I don't think it helps much, to be honest.
Balance of raising children, maintaining a home, holding a job? Like, how comfortable do you feel of the balance right now in your lives? Like, do you feel like it's easy to get that balance, or are you struggling to get that balance?
I think if I was on a scale, one's way up and the other one's really below.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a balance, and even when you think you've began to find a balance, you have not. Because it's just going to go...
Because they get older,
Yeah.
and then their needs change.
Everything changes.
Yeah.
I think, like, there's that saying, like, it takes a village to, like, raise a child.
Well,
And
Rome wasn't built in a day or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, like, that used to be the case. Like, a whole family would raise a child, but now it's down to, like, the sort of nuclear family, or mum and baby, dad and baby, whatever your family type is. But you don't have that same support system around you, so it's all on you. And kids are learning more from, like, other children at school.
Yeah.
And then that's sort of where they're learning from, instead of their parents and their, like, elder family. So
Yeah, I'd say my parenting was definitely a product of that, because not having many adults, I had to kind of lean on my own understanding and people who are my age to just blag through. Certain times I'd wake up and be like, is he alive? I don't know if you guys done this. And even now, I always say, like, I'm so surprised I've kept you alive. Like, this is a big achievement for me.
Yeah, wow. I don't know how I kept myself alive all day.
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
yeah, to be fair.
Yeah, but I do agree it's hard to find that balance, because your children get older, their needs change, their interests change, their hobbies change, so you're kind of adding, and household chores never end.
Yeah, if you're working as well, that's like another layer onto...
Yeah.
I think with like parenting, it makes it easier if you have people. There is a lot of people that have their family around them, their mum, their dad, their grandparents, and their aunties, uncles, and they're all more than happy to participate in this child's life, and it makes it easier, because you don't even have to say, oh, can you watch my child? I want to go and do this. Some people just generally want to have time away because they want to break. Like, I've got a friend who lives with her entire family. They all participate in this child's life. But even then, she will book hotels just to live in a room by herself with nobody around her. I think family, no family, husband, wife, auntie, like anybody, you just always want to spend that time alone to yourself.
That's important, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely, I think self-care and prioritising ourselves as mothers is so important, because it's just, without that, I think it's so easy to get into the whole rush of everyday life, and then you're kind of just heading on that road of mental health, then deflating.
I used to be so excited to get rid of my son and go,
Off you go.
Socialise with friends and be like, oh my gosh, like, even just being a mother, there is people that constantly wear makeup every single day and can do that. But now makeup is like it's not an everyday thing. It's, I'm going to do it because I get to go out and I get just to feel different.
Yeah.
It's like a mask.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah. I just put it on not to feel gross. Like, I've been like changing nappies like all day. I don't put my makeup on, even if I'm not going out. Like, it just feels good.
Yeah, but I like what you said about getting rid of my son. But I think that's I'm glad you said that, because I think there is a lot of pressure out there that mothers can't just genuinely say those things. And again, going back to that perspective of, because you're a mum, you must just enjoy being a mum at all times.
Yeah.
When actually you do have moments where you look forward to your child, going to visit grandparents or whoever, so you can just be like, actually, wow, I can stop. And those stepping moments are so important, because they're the ones that kind of get you to take a step back, build your energy, and then you've got more energy for your child.
When my son goes to his grandma, I can't see or hear anything. He is not mine anymore. I am in the background. He's all yours.
Yeah, literally, yeah. So what suggestions would you give to other women who are thinking of becoming mums or who are mums?
The right person. If you're having a baby with another person, because some people do have children on their own. Make sure you're financially stable as you can be. Make sure your mental health's in check. And just think about the things that you might have to give up.
Yeah,
I think
sacrifice.
People talk about like financial stability a lot, and my son's dad does this often. If I want him to have him, he'll be like, well, I've got no money to do this and do that with him. Children have the biggest imagination going. You could give them a cardboard box and some pens, and they're sat there for hours. I don't think you need to like. There's people that have been through a lot and poverty and still are a great parent. I don't think financial stability has everything to play in it, but it also helps with your mental state. Like if you're worrying about what you're feeding your child next because what you can't afford or what you can afford, then it will take a toll. But I think if
takes the pressure off.
Yeah, but in terms of entertainment for a child, that can easily be just created out of nothing.
You don't have to be like rich or anything. A lot of, and if you're a good person, you can raise a great child, and that child will be there throughout anything. You'll have got noodles tonight, Mum, for dinner, son. Yeah. And he could or she could be so appreciative because they are being fed either way. Kids are just great little things sometimes. And also brutally honest.
Yeah, very brutally, absolutely. I think it's important as well to have that fun. Yeah. Like fun for you, fun with your child, but I think it's important to have that fun aspect to your life before and after you have children. So I definitely neglected like that fun factor. I used to be so fun, and then I just got so serious because of having a child, and I just felt like I had to be serious.
Don't let the podcast or us speaking put you off parenting, because I think when you're ready, well, you don't even know when you're ready, but I honestly think if you want a child, have a child.
Yeah. Even if you're not ready.
They're always going to be best friend. Yeah. I can't express how much I actually do love but hate being around my son. Yeah. And it's so nice to have time away from him, but also I'm so happy to come home and see him. Or I mean, I could be away for like a day. I think I miss him, ring him and think, oh, I remember why I'm not seeing you today. But they are literally your best friend. They will go through everything with you. Yeah, definitely. Whether you're sad or nice. And my son, whether other people think it or not, he will sit there and tell me how beautiful I am every day.
Oh, that's really cute.
And it's nice. No one else is going to be saying it to me.
Yeah, so. There's definitely pros and cons, and there's always going to be trials and tribulation with
a lot of the things is people need to look for the pros before they see the cons, because you're going to focus on the bad so much more than the good. Yeah. But there is goods in being a mother. Yeah. I don't think you even need the right partner, because there's so many people that do it by themselves and they're great. I think you just need yourself. Just make sure you have yourself in the
encourage people and suggest that we talk to one another. Like, women definitely need to speak about the ups and downs of being a parent, the challenges that you're going through, the good times. So I think if we was to speak about that more, things will be a lot more normalised, and we'll have less pressure, and we'll put less pressure on ourselves.
Also, not wanting to be a mother, though, isn't a bad thing at all.
It's completely okay, yeah.
I understand people who say that they don't have time for kids, so I feel so selfish saying that, but honestly, when you're a parent, you can't be selfish, so I understand 100% being selfish as a person, because there's loads of children on this earth. If you don't want one, I'm sure you'll be the greatest auntie. Or there's so many.
My sister has that problem, actually, because she's been married for a few years now, and she gets quite frustrated because no matter where she goes, everyone's like, oh, so when are you going to have a child? When are you going to have a child? And she's like, but I don't want one. Yeah. And she kind of just like, but why does everyone think I must have a child? And me and my husband are very happy on not having any. So, I think that's quite sensitive. Yeah, it's really expected. And then if she says no, she kind of feels like they're judging her, because it's like, oh, so you don't have that motherly instinct, and it gets quite frowned upon. There's a lot of pressure on women, though, around parenting.
I understand that. Like, I met a woman the other day, and she's been with her partner for 14 years. They don't have children. And it's, why don't you have children? And a lot of people cannot have kids. When I spoke to her, she said, oh, I don't have time for kids, blah, blah, blah. And when I spoke to her, like a friend of hers, she said she cannot have kids. It's not because she doesn't want them. but she's been asked the question so many times. It's quite a sensitive subject for her. So she just.
But that's what people don't bear in mind. Like, what if there is complication and they can't have children, or, you know, especially if they've miscarried and stillbirth. I mean, it's really trauma. Yeah. Thank you for getting involved in the Impossible Talk podcast, and we hope to have you involved with